So you want to learn how to write your first screenplay. You came to the right place. Class is in session. We're going to start with a few things, some basic things, and so that we don't go over your head with them. We're going to take them very slowly. For today's course, we're going to go over some general rules of thumb. You can't do very much damage with that then. Should have been more like the rule of wrist. Who knows that movie? Anyway, rule of thumb is that every movie, especially, okay, this is when you're starting out like you were doing, otherwise you wouldn't be watching a tutorial on how to write a screenplay. But I've been doing this for way too long. I don't want to date myself, but since I was 15 years old, and I'll be 44 next month. So yeah, I know a thing or two. So let me help you out and get you on the right track. First of all, software. You gotta use Final Draft 8. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. They think they can get away with using MS Word or some other haphazard free screenwriting program online, and you can get away with it. You can. But you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to take you 1,000 times longer. For example, when you center, and we'll get into all this, but when you center the name of a character in a screenplay above the dialogue, I mean, doing that is a lickety-click if you're using Final Draft 8. So you got to get your hands on that program. That's your first thing. That's rule number one. Obtain Final Draft 8, upload it, have it on your computer, and literally at your fingertips so you can get to writing. Now we'll get into characters. We're going to get more into characters later, and I've studied character development courses, and my credentials speak for themselves. We can get into those a little bit later as well. But for all intents and purposes here, what we're talking about is writing your first screenplay. What you need to know are the facts. Every movie is 90 minutes long. That's because you're starting out. You're not Quentin Tarantino. It's 90 minutes, 90 pages. A page equals a minute. There are a few exceptions to that. They managed to do it in Casablanca, but that's just a wonderful, mind-blowing film. One of the best films, if not the arguably best film of all time. Next to Rocky, you know. And then, aside from that, if you're just, for our purposes here, you want it to be around 90 pages, which is around 90 minutes. It's typically a page a minute in screenplay.
Every movie's about one character only. We're going to use Pulp Fiction.
So, Pulp Fiction's about Sam Jackson's character.
Jules Winfield.
It's cold-blooded murder and a hitman and stuff. And then he finds God by way of the gun, ironically, because he uses that in his job, his line of work all the time. And then he decides he wants to change his life. That's 3 beats. And we're getting into beats later. So remember, every screenplay should have 3 beats as it has 3 acts. Remember, this is for our intents and purposes here in course. This isn't always. This is pretty much always. This is if you want to sell your first movie or your first screenplay and you want to make your own movie, either way. So in that same structure of the 3, you want to keep your pitch. And this is what we really got to get into first, your elevator pitch. And it's called that because you're supposed to be able to deliver, if you're Martin Scorsese or Tarantino or whoever that you think wants to make a movie that you've always wanted to meet. Oh my God, it's Spike Lee, he'll do this joint, right? Whoever it may be, and you just have a perfect movie pitch. You're going to be like that. You need it to be short. You need to be the same 3 beats, like the Sam Jackson Pulp Fiction. Cold-hearted hitman, you know, his life is spared when somebody that he kills one of his friends tries to retaliate. He should have been dead, and he finds the Lord and changes his ways forever. It's about one character. Then you got B characters like Bruce Willis, C characters, and like I said, we'll get into characters later like Mia Wallace, D characters, you know, you start going down the list, E characters, like, you know, Vincent Vega might be a D character, where, you know, down the list further might be like a K or J character, it might be
Mr. Marcellus Wallace.
But in order to know about this 3-beat structure, you have to know about this first. It's okay, it really just summarizes the first act of your movie. Now, not to confuse you with too many 3s, however, having said that, it's a 3-act movie, but also your pitch has to be 3 beats. But don't worry. So check this out. So in your pitch, your actual pitch, your beat has to be 3 beats, and it can only consist of what happens within the first act. You have 3 acts in your script. You have under 14 seconds to deliver this. So take your movie idea. Make sure it is about one person. It doesn't have to be obvious. Pulp Fiction, when you ask most people who's the main character, they don't really know unless you ask them super specifically, like I just asked you guys. But if you say like, oh gosh, Pulp Fiction, oh yeah, that's that movie about a bunch of gangsters doing a bunch of gangster stuff. Or if you look up on the info, if it's on cable, you know, on the TV, you know, it'll say it's about a bunch of gangsters and hitmen that yada yada come into it with a boxer, and it'll go on and on for days and days. But I can tell you what it's about in under 14 seconds. It's about a reformed hitman who found God trying to kill a man on a job who fired back at him. The Lord spared his life. Now he wants to redeem himself and stop his ways of crime forever. And it's about a lot more than that, as you guys know. But you gotta keep, that's why it's called an elevator pitch. You want it to be no longer than the ride of an elevator length. And that's where the term came from. And that's your first lesson on elevator pitches. Now that you know that, You've got to write your 3-beat elevator pitch, and it can't give away anything that is more than your first act, meaning roughly the first 30 pages or equivalency of 30 minutes to your actual screenplay. So by page 30, you should summarize your
First
third act of your film. That will be your pitch. If you're getting to the second or third act, even at all, you're giving away spoilers, and nobody likes spoiler alerts, as we all know. Here's a sample of a 3-beat elevator pitch. Perfect example for you. You see it there. Take note. And again, that's only summarizing the first act, 30 pages of 30 minutes of the screenplay. So 30 pages since we're writing here. All right. Need my drink. That was actually my neck cracking. Yeah, being a writer really gets you tense in your shoulders and neck. Anyhow, you want to get into we're going to get into something called your page breaks. Page breaks are really important in so many ways, but that's how you're going to hit your act breaks, including your first act. So before we even go into like the perfect pitch, even though we're kind of touching on the pitch, before we go any further, I need to show you all a proper page break outline. Okay, there's certain pages on your film that are crucial and essential. Okay, before and beyond the outline, you got to have your cover page. Okay, then on page 1, it does not say a number 1. There's nothing for the page number. Every page going forward, such as 2, 3, 4, up to 90, up to however many pages it ends up being, but 90 for like how we want to do an hour and a half here, 90 minutes back. So here you can see your page break outline. Page 2, basically you want to keep your reader reading by page 2. If they're not still flipping the pages and really jazzed about your script, man, then it's probably not happening. Page 15 is your next minor act break, is what it's called. You want to cover the minor act break because your act break is at page 30 for the first 30 minutes of pages. So knowing that your act break is at 30, page 30, we can move forward to obviously page 30 is the end of the first act, as you may have guessed. Yes, very good. Now, you don't have another one of these breaks, and this will end your whole pitch for your movie. You can see how Tarantino played with that. See, and yes, he did over 90 pages on Pulp Fiction, of course, but he was already well established from Reservoir Dogs, did so well, and he had the money for it, so you got to know the rules before you can break them. All right, and he already written True Romance, so and done so many other things. Sometimes people say I look like Tarantino. Do you think that's true? I think maybe it's the chin. I don't know, but I think page. Well, we should stop after that and go to page 45 here. Yeah, people say I kind of look like Tarantino. Is it the chin? I don't know if it's even true. Anyway, so now we're on page 45. That's our minor act break. Okay, so we're having another minor act break. I know, but you want to do this before your first, and now you're learning before your second, act break as well. But this next act break, you'll see in a second. But stick with 45 for a minute here. You want to do the minor one that's going to lead you to the end of your second act. The end of your second act. Okay, so that's not going to be for a while. You're only at page 45, and that's where you want this to happen. Okay, so something that kind of alludes to what's happening. If somebody's going to inevitably go to jail and then get released and get shot, like in American History X, you kind of have to sort of build up to that such suspense early on in the film. And 45 pages, 45 minutes is still plenty early enough. So something that may allude to a spoiler, basically, but just it can't be too assertive either. So something that basically leads to a spoiler. Something you're giving away going forward in the end of your second act, and then in the few pages that are your third act, it's going to be real small. First act, 30 pages. Second act is the bulk of your script. The third act, this is eensy-weensy usually, like eensy-peensy-weensy. Just depends. But usually for like what we're going to do, it's going to be that way. And that's for most genres. We're going to cover all genres with this basic format as well. So now we're going to get you your midpoint. That's at page 60. Now this one, the other pages the page breaks, they do have a little bit of wiggle room. You can get people instead of page 2 on the previous example, you get them to start mobbing at page 1, or if you want to build some kind of intensity and you really have a really great cringy kind of horror movie going, you can feel it inside. Your midpoint, page 60, always at page 60. Try not to variate, even though you can on the other pages. You can change by a couple of pages. Midpoint, it's got to be 60. There's no budging, there's no wiggle room. People put your script down 60 pages in, and they won't read it anymore. Or if you're making your own movie out of your own screenplay, they'll stop watching 60 minutes in, they'll leave the theater, and you won't know why. You might be sitting in the back row on the down low with a hot dog low, scratching your chin through your COVID mask because you don't want anyone to recognize you. So you're going like that on the down low in the back row. Wondering why people are leaving 60 minutes in. Well, that's why. Because your midpoint absolutely and every time has to change the direction of your script. If your script does not change directions, that means if your screenplay does not change directions in the story, by page 60 at the midpoint, you're going to lose your audience. So make sure and do that. And we'll get further into these page breaks in a different course. next page break coming up. I think we'll wait for the train to pass. Good, I was getting parched. It's still going. Hold on. Or they call this writer's fuel. Also, you should probably jot that down somewhere. But you should take notes of this and stuff from these videos. We'll be posting them periodically. Now, our next page break is going to be at page 85. You're just going to try to, so you get 25 pages of play, you know, for the ending of your second act, whatever's left of your second act, all the way to the end, and the beginning of your third act, you know. So you're going to have all the way to page 85. Now, page 85 is going to be your third act and final time that you have to worry about one of these bad boys, okay? Another page break. Not the last one of the script, but one for an act break, okay? So you're going to hate me, but, you know, by page 90, we want to try to end this. So by page 85, you should best be wrapping it up. Give some kind of end game. So here's an example of the screen. And then page 90, you want to, you know, finalize things. If you're wrapping a package and you want to tie the bow and then you want to curl it with a scissors so it looks all pretty and fancy, and you want your name tags out and write "Dear so-and-so," scratch out to, from, where it says to and from, and put the person's name, and then scratch out the from, make sure you put love, you know, and you want to wrap it with love. You want people to read it. You want people to watch it if you're making it yourself. You want to write it. If you want to make it in Hollywood, listen to what I have to say in this course. This is going to go on. There's going to be several episodes. They're not going to be episodes, though. They're going to be lessons. Class is in session. So you best get to paying attention if you're serious about making it. I'm tired of doing this for people as a ghostwriter and without showing my face. So I'm unmasking myself, revealing who I am to you, and showing you how to be a lucrative writer. Okay? And I'm charging you $0.00. In fact, I'm not even monetized on YouTube. So I just do it for the love of film and for the love of you all. And because this needs to be told, because quite frankly, movies these days, they're just lacking the luster of structure, and that's why they suck. No structure. Without the structure, it's all over the place. And that's why most people don't like any movies that are coming out, if you've noticed in the last several years, especially since the pandemic first broke out. So in like four years now, basically, where, you know, people have not really been adoring film, with very few exceptions. And that's only because casting at home. Pretty soon we'll all be watching Brendan Fraser bloated up, winning awards for The Whale. But we'll become the whales because we won't be able to get off our couches because we're doing everything like you are right now. You're studying from home, but at least you're expanding your brain. You know, that's a big muscle to work out, huh? The strongest muscle in the body is actually the tongue, but this isn't a science, nor is it an anatomy class. Not yet, anyway. So pay attention to these act breaks and remember to do your fade out. Your fade out, I should probably add at the top, you got to fade in. You were wondering what that was, and I never told you. So, but the fade in to your film is just how you want to portray it, you know? If you want it to have like a green screen like the Matrix the whole time, you best have that going on, you know? And your fade out, and also it's your opening, so your fade in. So it's your opening, and you want to set the mood and tone. You want to keep your mood and tone, which we'll also get into, consistent throughout your entire 90-page screenplay. You have to keep true to your mood and your tone. So that'll be in our next class. And fade out here, when you fade out, you just want to do it like the fade in. You want to keep true to that mood and tone, and you want to just kind of slowly fade out. You know, they go happily ever after, or so-and-so gets blasted in the face, but at least his brother learned a lesson. You know, I mean, whatever it may be, whatever direction you want to take, and especially depending on your genre, that's going to have a lot to do with it. If you're going to take it dark or if you're going to take it more comedic. I've written them all, and I've read them all, so I'm the person that can help you with this job for sure. So this is class 1, and I'm your teacher, Kyle Manfrey, Kyle T. Manfrey, Kyle Thomas Manfrey. You can call me sir. You can call me, and I'll call you sir back or man back because that's a professional way of doing things. Or you can just call me Kyle, or you can call me teacher, or you can really think I'm a dick and call me King Kyle. King Kyle, yeah. Thank you very much. But hope you learned something good here today. I know you did already. It's just I have so much knowledge that this whole process is going to require quite a few courses in order to get you guys up to date with how to write things. We need more good content out there, guys. So let's get to work. All right. You now have a way to work on your elevator pitch and your page breaks. Both those things alone, they take a long time. And you'll notice in your page break, you do that before your log line if you're me. That's how I like to do it. We'll get into log lines later. But it almost draws out your page breaks rather. And between that and your character development, it almost draws your log line for you. Whereas you find yourself copying and pasting more elements than you could imagine, just kind of rearranging them a little bit here and there, adding and you know, taking this out, making edits for taste, but adding, deducting, all. Man, they're just words flying all over the place. 26 letters in the alphabet really seems like a lot. and you write at the pace that I do. And I'm going to teach you how to get there too. So make sure and like, subscribe, and watch today. I'll even make a new channel for screenwriting classes. Classes in. So thanks for watching. Let's get you there. Let's get you that 90-page, 90-minute, pitch-perfect screenplay. So I know writing and the whole thing seems like quite a scenario, but it's good for you if you're like a really nervous, fidgety person. You'll find you might be a writer. If you're kind of introverted, some people mistakenly call it introvert-extrovert, but that doesn't really make any sense. That in itself is an oxymoron. But you're an introverted person. But every once in a while, you're a little bit too extroverted. I think that makes us more like bipolar. I don't know. I'm just saying, writers are usually pretty screwed up in the head. So good luck on this mission. I'll guide you through it. I'll get you through it. I'm your man Kyle. I've gotten so many people whose names I should not, so I will not disclose. But you'll know their names, like big-time people. You know, got them way up there, man. They forget who I am once they become a superhero. But that's all right. You know, that's what we do. That's what we're trying to do. You got to remember that. And also get ready to get rejected as a writer. That's going to happen. But we're going to get you through so many things in this class. I'm going to give you basically 30 years. Wait, how old am I? Let me think. 28 years of knowledge, something? 27 years of knowledge? You know, from people like Jacob Keeger. I'm not saying that name right. People like Robert McKee, Dove Sims, Stephen Pressfield, Jacob Krieger. That's what he said. Just a bunch of people. I don't want to diss any of you by forgetting your names. I'm not giving out an award speech here, so I don't do that. If you want to be a private person, stick to ghostwriting. And but it doesn't pay as well, to be honest. You can't like take credits for everything in the world, right? So, but if you do want to make a movie, you want it to be 90 pages. That's about the extent of it. It's got to be 90 pages. Keep it at 90 pages, or like, unless you're bankrolling, you just won the lottery, or you just have money like that, and you got $80 million or more to flush into this movie. Stick to these rules. Basically, stick to these rules anyway. You know, when you're big time, I know I reference other films, but that's just to give you some kind of example of what I'm talking about. But when you're really when you're doing this job as a profession, you know, and you've done things like I have. I've actually studied acting classes. Okay. Studied acting courses because I figured how better to write the voice of an actor than to study how to be an actor and become an actor. So I've acted as well, voiceover work, stuff like that. I also write children's books, and poetry, and wedding vows, and you name it, pretty much A to Z. That's what 818 Writing Company is all about. So class in session either way. If you want to subscribe, comment, like, and all that, that'd be cool. You're not getting graded here, but you could get to know me, and there might be a possibility that I'll read your screenplay for one lucky student. That's just a possibility. You got to come to LA on your own dime in your own time and meet with me at like a Starbucks or something, so it's not creepy. And that's a maybe. That's if you're really good. And then together we'll take it somewhere. But that's if. That's just a new idea for the class. Just a little motivation, some food for thought. Let's get you out there. Let's get your screenplay not just put on a shelf, but actually made into a feature film. Whether you're making it yourself or having some studio buy it off of you, it's a spec script or whatever. I don't care. Either way, we got this with this simple structure. It's not that simple. It's going to take some time, but I'm easing y'all through it. Okay? Knowing the actual pages and the actual structure, Final Draft will have tutorials that it offers when you get Final Draft 8, the program that you're supposed to have. When you get Final Draft 8, you're going to see it has these features. So that's good. And then you're going to be up in Final Draft, and you're going to be like, oh, like, okay, but I don't know how to do this. Just do more tutorials. Look some up on YouTube, or just keep watching me, or ask me in the comments section. I'm so happy to help. I'm like beyond happy to help. This is what I am, not just what I do. I tell people that. I told Vince Vaughn that in person. I told Timothy Oliphant that in person. And I shook his hand, good to see you again, and gave my business card at a screening of a certain thing. I mean, I'm just saying, I can get you places that you never dreamed of going. You just have to follow the format. But as I was taught by Mark Troy, great writing instructor and mentor, he had done The Guru, which was like this 90s flop movie. It was a serious role that a person moved here from India, and they wanted it written, you know, as a serious film. And he just sold it, and after he sold it to the major production studios, they did whatever they wanted with it. They bastardized it, and they made it some goofball comedy that didn't do very well. But, like Mark Troy used to tell me, one of my mentors, my writing mentors, I was young and shy back then. I'm like, now, wow, if I knew him now, if he knew me now, we could really make some films. But he used to tell me all the time, he'd tell the class, but he'd tell me aside from that, I can teach a brick how to write a screenplay, so long as the brick is willing to learn. Thanks for watching. Thanks for learning. Make sure and like, comment, subscribe, and share today. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell so that you know when class is in session.